Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to show you a common mistake that my customers make with their Stihl chainsaws. And it's a mistake that I've done as well, and I think everybody who owns a chainsaw in general will probably have made the mistake that I'm going to show you in the video today. It's easily avoidable, but if you make the mistake, it can end up costing you a lot of money. So that's why I want to make the video today here, so that you can avoid these costly expenses. So the victim today of this mistake is this chainsaw right here. So what's happened here, the customer said he brought the chain for me to sharpen here. He brought it off the saw, then he went back home to put it back on. And since he's put it back on, you can't move it anymore, even if the brake is off. So the brake's on, brake's off, you cannot move it. So what I'll do here is take the clutch cover off, and you're going to see immediately what has happened. And the nuts weren't even that tight. So have a close look here. You can see that the chain is not directly on the sprocket. The chain is in between the washer and the sprocket. That's the problem. See that? So let's say you started up the saw here. What could happen is this washer may pop off. The clip will disappear. You might damage your clutch bearing inside, the little roller bearing, and maybe damage the actual clutch inside as well, and your chain. I've seen it many times. So what I'll do here is show you how to put it on properly. See, it's extremely tight. So this person here is actually very lucky that he didn't cause any more damage. It's good that he called me right away when he couldn't turn the chain on the bar before starting it. I've had customers where they've started their saws, ran it, and then they called me and said it's not cutting right. And then the whole thing fell off here, as I mentioned earlier, and they had way more problems. Now, when I put my bar and chain back on, my Stihl chainsaws is I put the chain on the bar first like this. And then it's easy to just kind of go over and make sure that the chain is on the actual sprocket, not between the washer and the sprocket. And what's important here is to line up the pin underneath inside your bar. So I'm just going to loosen the adjuster here. It will bring the pin right in. And I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit. And this is how you want it. You want it on the actual sprocket. And one other way to prevent this from happening, because it can easily happen, as I mentioned, it's actually happened to me in the past, is I keep pressure on the bar, and I always look at the chain to make sure it's still on the sprocket. Then I put the cover on and keep pressure on the bar until I'm able to actually put pressure on the cover to keep the bar and chain in place. Then get your nuts on as quick as you can. And at this point, you don't want to tighten up the nuts all the way. You just want to snug them, and just snugging the nuts will actually stop the chain from coming off the sprocket. And the reason I didn't tighten them up right away is because they have to be loose in order to tighten up the chain correctly. And then what I do is I just flip the saw back down like this. And then what I do is I grab the bar and pull it up as high as it will go. And by keeping the bar up is you get a more accurate adjustment. If you don't hold the bar up, it might be down a little bit. Then when you go to cut wood, it'll change the tightness of your chain. So always keep the bar up, have the bar nuts loose a bit like this. And then what I do is I pull down on the chain. And if you pull it down 1/2 inch and it pops right back up like this, that's a good setting. You can also do it from the top if you want, but I'm so used to doing it from the bottom. Now remember, when you tighten up the 2 bar nuts here, it might tighten up your chain slightly. So just keep that in mind when you do your adjustment on the bar here. And now make sure the brake's off. And you should be able to turn your chain if it's installed correctly on your chainsaw. Now, the reason I see this happen more in Stihl chainsaws is because the sprocket sticks out here in the open, whereas the Husqvarna chainsaws, the clutch is on the outside. So it gets pretty hard to make this mistake on the Husqvarna chainsaws because of that. However, if you do have a rim sprocket under here, which is a sprocket like this on your sprocket drum, it is easy to get the chain in between the rim sprocket and the clutch drum. So just be careful on your Husqvarna chainsaw as well if you have a rim sprocket, and also on the bigger Stihl Pro saws you will have a rim sprocket. So again, you'll have to make sure that the chain is inside the rim sprocket. So basically the drive links of the chain under here have to be inside this rim sprocket. But on the smaller to medium-sized Husqvarna chainsaws with the clutch sticking out like this, usually the sprocket is part of the clutch drum here, so it's very, very hard to not put it on correctly. But again, just remember when you get into the bigger saws, whether it's Husqvarna or Stihl, you will have a rim sprocket and you have to make absolutely sure you've got the chain in there. And again, as I mentioned throughout the video, problems that you will get if you don't put your chain on correctly is you will damage all the drive links of your chain. The clip here may pop off, and then the drum's is going to start coming out. I've seen where the clutch bearing has come out and disintegrated in pieces. And then the customer had to replace the clutch bearing right here, the clutch drum, all the clips here, and the washer, which got a little bit expensive when you consider it is an avoidable problem. So that's it for this video, guys. If you found this video helpful today, please like it and share it with your friends. Also, make sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you guys have a great day.